All right, Amityville 2, The Possession, or as I like to call it, the superior film in this franchise. This is easily the best film in the Amityville franchise. I don't give a shit what anyone says. I know some people think this movie's trash. They're wrong. No, they're not wrong. You know what I mean, though. In my opinion, they're crazy. This is the best film in the franchise. But this is more my style. This is an Italian filmmaker who liked to throw all sorts of shit at the screen. Not because I can't handle slower, atmospheric types of films. I love films like that. But this kind of film just really goes for it. And there's deaths. The first one has none. And most haunted house films don't have any deaths, but this movie has balls. Now, you could take this movie as a prequel and take the family in this movie as the DeFeo family. I mean, essentially that's what they're going for, but they're not called the DeFeo family. I don't know if they just didn't have the rights to do that. It doesn't give a time period that I saw, so it's not suggesting, and I don't know. I mean, I don't really know what to make of it because the DeFeo murders aren't talked about in this movie. So I'm assuming this is supposed to be that. The only thing that's talked about in the past of the house is when he talks to the chick at the library and she's like, this was built on, or was that in the third one? I just watched them back to back, so maybe I'm fucking that up. I think that's in this one though. Something about the house was built on Indian burial ground or some such nonsense. It's definitely in the third one, but maybe it was in this one too. Doesn't really matter. Anyways, so this movie has the gorgeous, the wonderful, the ever so beautiful Diane Franklin, who, don't worry people start calling me some freaking perv or something. She's 20 damn years old in this. So she is totally fine to look at however the hell I want to look at her. And she is just stunningly beautiful in this. She was also, freaking Monique Junot from Better Off Dead, one of the cutest damn characters you ever saw in your whole damn life. And she's also Princess Eliza from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. So she is quite the princess, I must say. And she plays Patricia in this. And Burt Young plays her father, good old Polly, who's a total asshole in this movie. Holy shit, what a god-awful father he is. And there's a really odd relationship between the sister and the brother in this, just from the get-go. From the get-go, they're a little too close. Just a little too close. So, I don't think the house had to push much. That being said, we never see them really outside of the house, when they finally see each other for the first time. It's inside the house, so maybe the house is already corrupting them a little. And how much does the house corrupt her versus how much does it corrupt him? Because he's definitely being corrupted mentally. But is she? She is obviously into him in that moment as well. Now she's a little awkward about it, but there is a scene later when she's talking to him and she's like, are you feeling guilty about this? Because I don't. So, which of course is a farce because she went to the priest and she couldn't handle what she had done and she felt like she'd sinned and she was a horrible person, and then she later claims that she's not. But that's typical. That's typical of 20-year-olds. They claim that one thing and then they mean the exact opposite, and they're like, oh no, this can be casual. Me, bro? Please. I'm totally good with this. It's all I want. And then, a week later, they want to ruin your entire life because you've betrayed them and fucked them over and this and that. And you're like, wait, what? Wait, what? You're the one that, what? You're the one that set this whole thing up, you asshole. So, typical. You can see I'm talking from experience here, so, yeah. Anyways, moving on. All right. And I love that the mover guy is like, hey, you got a busted sewer line down here. Let me crawl under it and let all of the shit water pour onto my body and put my hands down in the feces and then come up and be like, ugh, gross, what was going on down there? And it's like, as soon as you saw a sewer line was broke, you should have immediately backed up out of there, not went deeper in there and then swatted a bunch of flies and then let them, you know, get the best of you. Like, that scene made no sense, but whatever. Moving on. And the dad is just, he seems like an asshole from get-go. Like, before he ever steps foot in that house, that dude was an asshole. It makes me wonder why it didn't just go after him. He seemed like he was easily corruptible. They take after the dude who actually loves his family, loves his sister, loves his little sister and his brother. Like, why'd they go after him? Go after Burt Young. It would have taken a day. He would have shot his entire family by lunch. Like, this dude was on the edge. He wanted to beat his kids up for nothing. I mean, nothing. A friggin' mirror fell off the wall and he immediately was like ready to go punch this kid's face. I was like, whoa, dude, relax. The house in this movie, ding dong ditches itself. That made me laugh out loud when I thought about that. And which we've seen in other movies, but for some reason in this instance it just made me laugh out loud. Then the brushes in the house start just floating and painting up on the wall, and Burt Young can't find anybody in the house. So of course he takes off his belt and just starts deciding to beat the shit out of his children. Then his son puts a gun to his face, and then a minute later the wife is like hugging on the dad and is like, oh, it's okay, and all of this. What kind of a fucked up family is this? Seriously, what kind of a fucked up family are we dealing with here, where the mother looks past domestic abuse, not only towards herself, where he like throws her to the ground, but also hits her children, and I guess his children as well, but he sure as shit isn't acting like it. And the son is fucking his sister, and she seems to be all bad. She just takes off her nightgown. I wish I could tell Diane Franklin, you know, hey, why don't you just take off that nightgown for a second? She's like, okay, just for a second. And I'd be like, oh, that's all I needed. I'm done. You can put it back on. I'm good. So there we go. And yeah, why did they go after the dad? Seemed like it escalates so fast. Holy shit. Like, they're in this house. This family was on edge from the get-go, though. Everybody has issues. I love how kids just play with plastic bags, just shove them over their heads. Hey, welcome to the 80s. Although I guess this is supposed to be the 70s. It's supposed to predate. If it is the DeFeos, that's 74. So, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't give us a date, but it looks like the 80s because it is the 80s. It's like 82? Yeah, it's 82. It's the year I was born. And so Diane Franklin's 20 years older than me. I've seen pictures of her recently. I'd still do it. I'd still go. Yeah, I'd still give her a okay, never mind. Shh. Moving on. And I like how the dad's catchphrase in this is, you think this is funny? And he keeps coming at him, and it's like, they're screaming and crying. You have a very different take on what's kids' laughter. Because all I hear is screaming and crying. And he's like, you think this is funny? It's like, yeah, it's a fucking riot, man. What a comedian. Beating your children, and you bring down the house with that act. I like, yeah, see, here's another thing. So the priest comes over, and then when he comes out to his car, his Bible has been torn to shreds. Yet another big piece of evidence that the house can do something outside of the house to an inanimate object that isn't in the vicinity of the person that has been, tainted by the house's aura or whatever. Because I was thinking, oh, well, if they're outside of the house and they've been inside the house, then until it dissipates, it has the ability to interact with things in that person's general vicinity. But this guy was in the house. Now, you could argue maybe Sonny tore up the book, but it looks like he was in the house the whole time. So somehow the house is able to just go outside the house, though the car is parked on the property. So technically, I guess it's not breaking property lines. That's if such a rule exists within this kind of shit. Who knows? Anyway. And the Sonny Home Alone stuff where he's like totally going insane, and there's a lot of body horror in this, and it's really great. I love the practical effects, especially when he's like tearing his face apart and there's this like demon head underneath. which I feel like plays into the third one because it's like the look of the demon, and I want to say that that's the demon that's eyes that Margot Kidder saw in the first movie, but that we just never saw the actual face. What's under Sonny's face here, I want to say, is what is outside and what is in the well in part 3. So I think there is maybe some consistency at least there. I like how the house sets off every gun in the house. There's a ton of guns in the house, and it blows holes all in the ceiling above. And nobody ever mentions this. Nobody ever says anything. A mirror falls off the wall in this house. You get the shit bait out of you. But if there's like 16 bullet holes in the ceiling, I guess that's just par for the course, and Bert's okay with that because, hey, you know, he's into guns. I don't know. Yeah, strike a pose. Cover girl. Yeah, the awkward incest sequence. It's only awkward because you know they're brother and sister. If it isn't for that, you get to see Diane Franklin naked so I'm not really all that miffed by it because I know they're not really related. I don't really give a shit, and Diane Franklin's a goddess, so I was fine with it. But of course, if I'm playing it within the context of the film, seeing a brother and a sister getting it on is gonna make you go, that's not natural. That's not how we were raised. We're not supposed to fuck siblings. Don't do that. And then, yeah, I mean, the mom suspects it pretty quick. And when she comes at her, and I like how this is total bullshit. This is total, double standard nonsense. Because this is the way I take it anyways. The mom goes after Patricia, and she's like, you know, essentially, did you fuck your brother? And she's like, do you realize what you've done? And it's like, why aren't you talking to Sonny about this? Like, oh, it's the woman. It's her fault because she let him in. Like, why is Sonny not spoken to about this matter at all by the mom? It's Patricia's fault. Oh, you let a guy between your legs, so it's your fault. He had, he's a guy. He can't control himself. But a woman, you have the choice. Bullshit. Women can get, extremely horny. Women can make whatever decision. Bullshit. That is so silly to me. I know I probably read more into that than that sequence meant to, but it just annoyed me. I'm like, why is this not the son's fault as well? Why does she not say one word to him about this in the whole film? I don't get it. Anyways, moving on. And then Frank the priest actually dreams all of the murders. So Sonny goes around the house and he kills his dad, his mom, all of his brothers and his sisters, and Patricia. And then the priest wakes up and you're like, oh, come on, fake out dream bullshit, really? And you get annoyed, and then he arrives at the house and boom, they're all dead. It actually happened just like that. And you're like, well, man, I'm sad they're dead, but thank you for not making it a fake out dream sequence. So it's a fake out, which is awesome. So I love that. And then you think like, oh, that's got to be the end of the movie. And it's like, no, there's freaking 40 minutes of this movie left. So the whole family's dead. And then there you go. The priest feels guilty, which I kind of feel like I don't know if he should, but I get why he does. And then for some reason, he's interrogating a prisoner. I guess that's how it works in this town. And we find out that he is now possessed by the house, and he wants to take Sonny to church, but this guy won't let him. But eventually, he does let him. Yeah, here's the more Indian burial ground talk. That's right. Okay, there you go. I knew that was this movie. And then Patricia calls from the grave. I thought that was a really freaky sequence, so I dug the hell out of that. And then he tries to plead demonic possession. Tries to plea? I don't even know what that means. Oh, I don't know. Whatever. And fuck permission. Just do the exorcism. Why is he going around trying to get permission? I'm just going to do the exorcism. Good. All right. Then we get that other little body horror where it says help me across his body. We've seen this. We saw it in The Exorcist. It says it across Reagan's stomach there. So this is nothing new. But when his stomach's being sunk in like it's being stepped on or something, that's yet another good part of practical effects and whatnot. I really dig the practicals in this. Some good gore sequences as well. He also can make flames appear in front of a church. That's some vulgar display of power there. But he's all right with that. Then there's a full-on river of blood in this. And more Kubrick Shining stuff going on here. But this is post-Shining. The priest in this movie is ballsy, man. This dude is a no joke tough guy. And then Patricia accuses the priest of wanting to fuck her. Now we've seen this in The Exorcist, like, you want to fuck me, fuck me, fuck me, you know, that kind of stuff. Which, but the way he reacts, now he calls this, you know, he calls Satan the you know, the king of lies and all of this and that. But the way he reacts does suggest to me that he was in that moment thinking about having sex with her. Now, you can shake, you know, you can wag your finger and you can shake your head and you can do whatever you want. You can be like, oh my God, what a perverted old man and this and that, if that was to be true. But come on, man. Like, this is where people, I feel, are disingenuous with themselves. At a certain age, as soon as someone becomes like an adult, like at a certain age, that age range is always going to be physically attractive to you. It may not be mentally attractive to you, it may not be whatever, but you're always going to have a sexual desire for a certain age group, and up even. But to say that some gorgeous 20-year-old girl like this, who's describing an act of sex to a priest who probably has no sex life, probably can't have a sex life, that he thought about fucking this girl, this gorgeous 20-year-old girl, like every freaking dude, no matter how old they were, would be thinking about. I get it. He's a priest. He's probably not supposed to. He's probably, that's a weakness for him. He thinks that's wrong and this and that. But I was sitting there like, I would be like, yeah, I thought about fucking her. So what? Am I a bad guy for thinking about fucking this gorgeous, full-grown adult woman? Like, that's stupid. So I get it, but in that moment, I was like, did he think about it? I mean, I would be surprised if he didn't. I mean, look at this chick. He did. That's how I took the scene, but that might just be projection because that's what I was thinking about in that moment. But he thought of it. Of course he thought of it. Who wouldn't think of it? Anyways. And taxi cab confessions here on Sinister Cinema Reviews. Letting it all hang out. And all right. Where the hell was I? Yeah, the face tearing off, that's a great sequence. The house bursts into flames, but then they're fine and then the house is fine. That was a weird sequence. Like, why is the house on fire and then it's not on fire and they're not burned? I thought the house burned down, but the house is fine, they're fine. And then the dude comes in and he takes Sonny away and he leaves the priest behind, and the dude's telling him, he's trying to comfort him, and he's like, we'll make him understand. We'll make him understand. And I'm sitting there like, no, you won't. What will you make them understand? They're going to believe in demonic possession all of a sudden? They're going to, what do you mean they're going to understand? They're not going to understand. The only thing they're going to understand is the priest knocked out a cop, took this kid away to his house, and then they found the kid and took him back to jail. Why would anything have changed? Why would anything be different? He's going to be convicted for the murders of his family, and he's going to die in prison. So I don't know this whole, I don't know if he's just trying to console him to calm him down or whatnot, but Sonny's life is over. And apparently the priest is as well, because now he is possessed, and there you go, which of course is not addressed at all in Amityville 3D. Let's move on over to that.